I was remembering as I read over the article that I did 10 years ago that you told me, it was on the evening of March 2nd, 1998, that Suzanne, who was then 19 and a sophomore at SUNY Albany, vanished without a trace after stepping off a bus from her part-time job at Crossgates Mall en route to her dorm room at SUNY Albany. And that 15 years later, you, her parents, Doug and Mary, are continuing to search for answers to what happened to your daughter. And I hoped that by turning the clock back to that night, and all that has transpired since, the key things, that it would help to solve, this really frustrating, baffling, heartbreaking mystery, that this will be the year, the month, maybe even, that you could get the answers you have been searching for, waiting for all these years. And I kept thinking about how, you have helped so many other people since you co-founded the Center for Hope, Healing Our Painful Emotions. And has it been a decade now? Is it 10 years this year or 11?
I think it was year 2000.
Wow.
That we became official, you
That
mean?
we became official.
Before that, we were unofficial.
We're unofficial.
I mean, we did
Well, for
a lot of the same things,
yeah.
but then we finally got
2000. So
our
it's been
status,
13 years.
our credibility. I guess that's part of what it
But
was,
part of-
establishing that credibility as an organization.
Well, part of what I wanted to talk to you about, as I said, was how the difference between now and today, even when I was lost in your hallway, but to hear Doug's calm, reassuring voice at the end of the phone, which you did not have, how much things have
Right.
changed, the things that you put in place, the things that still need, you think, to be put into place. But when you said to me in that interview, I never forgot it, you said two things that really hit me. You said that you are members of a club that nobody wants to belong to.
Yeah.
And also you talked about how the grieving, what you went through, and how there is never any closure, how different it is from other types of losses. And so
Talk about that club for a minute.
yeah, let's talk about, I want you to talk about the club.
That we kind of revisit from time to time, and actually we're looking at that a little differently now, and kind of on a more positive thing, rather than kind of a punishment to belong to this club. It's really, in a way, it's kind of a privilege and an honor to be connected with. It's really kind of an extended family,
Yeah.
Okay.
And
rather than a club that nobody wants to belong. I mean, that's the reverse side of it,
Actually, what happened was, we were at a meeting for Team Hope, and at the end of the meetings, they kind of talk about their, why they're there. Every person that belongs to Team Hope has had somebody missing in their lives, and then they become Team Hope members and talk to, other families who have somebody missing to comfort them. And they were all saying the same thing, this is a terrible thing. We're, here we are in this club nobody wants to belong to. And I'm sitting there hearing this from everybody, and finally I stood up and said, had I never belonged to this group, I never would have met all of you people. I have met people from all over the country. And these are people that I would have walked by in an airport or never talked to them. But here I am talking to wonderful people. You all have, you're all wonderful people. Unfortunately, you had a tragedy in your life.
You found the silver lining.
Yeah, and we found you.
Yeah, so that was helpful. I mean, that, when you talk about, this club, this, this painful, negative thing. I mean, that's not. I guess one of the things we try to do is, just to be as positive as we can and put a positive spin on things that you can look at as being negative and painful. And,
well, is it easier? I mean, 10 years later, to see maybe the positive. Some of the things might have been there. You were getting a little tiny glimmer because you were then so new to the Center for Hope and everything. 10 years ago, when we did this first story. But these other people, as you said, now your eyes have been open too to say, I would never have met this person, been able to help these people, also, and they've helped you.
Absolutely.
What are some of the ways that you have been helped by your involvement with the others who have lost a loved one, or a loved one has just disappeared?
Well, go ahead.
Just a comforting, looking forward to going to a meeting, and we meet a couple of times a year. We see these people a couple of times a year, and just looking forward to saying, wow, I'm going to see Vicky from Oregon, or, somebody who lives in North Carolina. I'm going to see these people who I never would have met these people. I would have been in my own little world in Ballston Spa, and just keep moving along. And not that I'm saying that the situation that brought us together was a real tragedy, but we've met so many wonderful people, and that's just the way I feel.
I think it's the connection to the bonding of it, and that really, and I never believed this until this happened to us, that it's one of those situations where you really have to be there. I mean, you have to have had to experience this to really have that almost, I don't know, some sort of connection with the other person.
Right.
Because we had so many people tell us.
Well, you do. You have almost like a spiritual connection.
It almost is a spiritual thing.
Almost like
that you can't define on a feeling level or spiritual level.
That unless someone else has gone through it, they can't really understand. I mean, isn't that also when Bill Wilson founded AA?
Exactly.
Right.
A tremendous connection.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's similar in a way.
Similar in a way. Okay. Okay.
So
well,
it's. I think that's,
What about the stages of grief? Because I'm thinking again that when parents lose a child, the child dies, and then they have the wake and the funeral, and the stages of grief.
It's a resolve. And
a resolve rather than a closure.
A resolve rather than a closure. And most families will say that they really hate when the media comes out and says closure, because closure is not something that we ever have. I mean, even if Suzanne came back tomorrow, she's been gone for 15 years. I don't know what happened to her for the last 15 years. And I've been going through hell for the last 15 years.
Doesn't erase everything that's happened.
It doesn't erase that, and you could say, wow, she's back, we finally have closure here. We don't. We have resolve.
You never get the time back.
You'll never get the time back, that you have had when you've lost this person. So I really don't like that word. And I know that I've talked to many families.
Let's talk about that for a minute. We've in connection with a lot of families, or quite a few families, who have had someone missing and they were found deceased. And some people could say, okay, well, done, over, now you can kind of go on. But at least in two cases that were from the general area, one is a young man, Josh Sostak from Albany. He was down in Albany with some friends, and they were, celebrating or whatever.
Right.
And got separated from his friends, and was missing for months, right? Because I don't think they located
He went
him
missing
until
just before
May.
Christmas, and they found him in, I think May,
May, something like that.
May.
So he was
Okay.
so, I mean, in one sense, they do have, I guess, and I always see closure as kind of this circular thing, where a lot of different things have to fall into place to have it be called closure, where all questions are answered, and you can kind of put everything to rest. But so all they know is one tiny piece, that resolution piece, that he's no longer living.
So resolution.
So at least they don't have to go on looking for him. But what they don't know is what happened to him.
They still don't know that.
No.
No.
And how did he end up
Mhm.
in the Hudson River as a quote unquote drowning victim when he was in downtown Albany and ended up when they found him, when they did the post-mortem, they found out that he had a 0.12 alcohol level.
So it's high.
So, but for a young man, I mean, he was 21.
He was a big kid. He was not a small boy.
I mean, that's not a whole lot of,
No.
that's not enough alcohol to explain him going down to the, like the Port of Albany or wherever he ended up, and I'm wandering off a dock or a pier, and then they don't, as a drowning victim.
Is
Okay.
that
His
case
car was-
considered closed, or is that an
It's closed.
ongoing investigation?
It's
Oh,
Closed.
Okay.
As far as the police are concerned,
Mhm.
because they, at that many months later, there's not going to be much that shows up
But
anyway.
maybe not closed as far as his family and loved
No,
ones
because
are
they
concerned.
don't believe. Like, I have real questions as to
Mhm.
if that's what what happened to him. I just don't see someone like that with 2 or 3 beers in him going down and wandering off a dock.
Highly
down the
Will
suspicious.
his
Hudson River.
family be at the missing persons day?
They're usually there.
Okay.
Um,
What about the family of Craig Freer? I remember he went missing around the same time as Susie, did he not? He
a
was
little later.
He was tall and athletic
Yep.
build, and he vanished, I believe, in Burn Hills. Is he still
Scotia.
missing?
Still
Scotia?
missing. So they're kind of in the same boat that we are
Okay.
as far as not having any answers. So that was one of those kind of unexplained disappearances that kind of poof
Okay.
vanished. I was retired
Okay.
then. Yeah, we were out. We were headed out to visit with my son, who lived in Lake George at the time. So we were headed out the door when we got the call, and it was one of you forget that where you're emotionally you're kind of in a you're in a shock situation where something hits you and you feel like you've been hit over the head with a
So what time of the day? It was in the morning?
yeah.
About when, like 10 o'clock?
Yeah, around 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, something like that.
And were you contacted by the police or by the college or by a friend,
It was
roommate?
Rich, Susie's boyfriend.
Well, can we go back to the morning you received the call? Because, I mean, when you got the call that morning, what were the very first reaction and what were the first questions that the two of you had? Because I'm surprised that you weren't notified by either the police or
Just because there
Because
was
the time that Suzanne was believed to have gone missing was what time in the evening on March 2nd?
9:45 around there.
9:45. Okay.
That was when the bus returned to the campus.
Okay. And you got your call almost 12 hours then later?
Yeah, the following morning. Yeah.
From Suzanne's boyfriend,
Right.
who could not reach her the night before and never bothered to call us to say we couldn't reach her.
She always either phoned or sent him a email or got in some chat room or something to communicate with him.
Yeah.
And on
Now,
that
Suzanne
night she
was
didn't.
a computer science
Yeah.
right, major,
Mhm.
and so she was really kind of ahead of her time.
Yeah,
that
she
she
was.
was really already in 1998 using emails on a regular basis
Right.
and all of these
Yeah.
things. So
Yeah, she was doing all that crazy stuff.
and you had
Pushing
hoped. So, but I'll let you talk. But I do remember you saying originally that there was some frustration about not being able yourselves to see with your own eyes the computer or messages that had.
Right.
Yeah, much later. It was 8 years, was it?
Well, were you very
8 years, yeah. It took
That
us
we
8 years to
finally
get
got
her
a
hard
copy of our
drive.
hard drive.
All right. Were you very concerned when you first heard she had not come in the night
Oh.
before?
Oh, yeah.
Or so, and
I was-
even after 12 hours, you.
We had talked.
it
We had
was
talked to her
so
on
out
the
of
evening
character.
of March the 1st, which is my birthday,
Oh.
and then she went missing on March the 2nd. And she she seemed pretty up. She didn't.
She was
you know,
up, okay.
She didn't have any, issues other than being a little on the broke side. She had
And
Typical
midterms.
college
Yeah.
student, yes.
she
So-
said she didn't know if she was going to make it until Thursday when we were going to pick her up.
Oh, you were going to pick her up Thursday.
This
Okay.
was a Sunday
Mhm.
night, and Thursday was the beginning of midterm or beginning of spring break,
Mhm.
and so she said she could probably make it because she was going to be getting a paycheck.
From Babbage's.
From Babbage's,
Mhm.
which sat there for months. I don't know whatever happened to that money, but it was gone. So anyway, her only concern was, getting through the midterms and, making it through the rest of the week. That
Mhm.
basically was it. So she went to work on March the 2nd, and she was witnessed getting off the bus at the visitors parking lot. It's
One witness.
And have you personally spoken with the witness?
I
Have
did.
you-
Doug did, yeah.
This girl was sure in her own mind that was Suzanne.
Mhm.
It was a brief, encounter. It was like passing. Susie got off. This girl was getting off, so it was kind
Oh,
Girl was
It was-
moving on.
okay.
of one second or something,
Mm.
where you just okay.
Right.
But the reason it caught this girl's attention is that she had only seen Susie before in the shower room, because they were in the same dorm, so
Okay,
they would have this contact in the shower room.
right.
And this was the first time that she had seen her in a different setting, so it kind of stuck out at her that, oh, okay, yeah.
And
Yeah.
what was she able to tell you and the police? I mean, for example, you mentioned that Susie was wearing the kangaroo coat. Did that come from the witness, or was that from the people who saw her leave Crossgates Mall?
That came more from Crossgate Mall, I think.
They were still dating? I mean, they weren't
Susie
breaking
was-
up? Or
No,
broken
Susie
up,
tried to
or-
break up with him several times. One of the
She
things-
didn't want to hurt anybody?
No.
She didn't want to hurt anybody. She was
So
kind-hearted.
Yes.
She took responsibility if someone else was, upset or in pain. So it was kind of it was a fault. I mean, it was a compassion to a fault maybe. And I think that eventually, whatever reason, I think that's somehow responsible for her disappearance. Whoever's
Because, I mean,
whoever's
otherwise,
responsible.
I mean, have you had on your own, other theories? I wondered about, especially respectably dressed, a nice vehicle or SUV or something.
Yeah.
No.
Had asked for directions, you don't think it was anything
Not
like
not
that?
that
No.
situation.
Do you
no.
think it was
And I
somebody she
almost
knew?
think
Do you
that-
think that
that-
she knew the person?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'm
You definitely
I
think
had
she
no
did?
question in my
No
mind that it was
question.
either somebody she knew well, or at least had a casual acquaintance with,
Mm-hmm.
and that this person might have asked her for some help with a computer problem, or
Mhm.
maybe because it was in the middle of midterms, maybe
Ah.
they needed help,
Mhm.
with studying for an exam.
Later.
That was like early May that was found.
Yeah.
The only other thing.
But was that found at Crossgates or at SUNY?
SUNY
SUNY.
Albany, right off of visitors parking. That's very close to where she got off the bus.
Okay,
Oh.
Okay, which
but that's the only,
Which
I mean, would there have been
almost lead
fingerprints
you-
on it other than Susie's?
It had
They
been
were-
out in
it
the
was
weather
out, and it
from
was-
March
things were
until
so
May.
degraded that if
Plus-
there was anything on there that was long gone.
Plus, the students that found it thought it might have been a credit card because it was upside down. When they saw it, they picked it up, they threw it back down, and then this girl said, "Wait a second, there's a girl that's missing on campus. Let me look at that again."
Mhm.
It turned out it was her ID. Of all people, whose ID would it be, right? One
But
of
when
the-
you got that call, how did you feel that day? I mean,
Boy,
that had to
I'll
have
tell
been-
you.
Did that give you hope, or was that worse?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was at that point there was nothing much coming in. I mean, after all this to do and the media attention and things had started to die down by that time, and
Well,
there
what was it like
less
for you
information
between
coming
March 2nd and that time? I mean, there was never, again, a normal day where you just get up and you're having a leisurely reading the
No.
newspaper.
A lot of roller
you're-
coaster stuff.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
a roller
There were
coaster of
people
emotions.
calling, psychics calling,
Leads,
leads,
tips.
tips.
They would,
Um,
they would peter out, and
yeah.
then the roller coaster would go down.
One
Okay.
time the SUNY Albany security called and said, there's a girl that they found deceased in West Virginia, and she fits Susie's description. We'll call
Well, they
you
didn't
back.
know it was a girl. All they knew was
Yeah.
white. I thought it was a white female.
White female,
I'm not even
yeah.
sure it turned out to be a Caucasian.
And she was
After-
found in what state?
West
West
Virginia.
Virginia, I think, yeah.
And he said that, we'll call you back when we find out.
Did he have the
And I
right
was
to
like,
place that call?
No,
Really?
I don't think so. He should never have called us. And, for a whole week, we were on on
Did
the
you
edge of
even
our
sleep
seats.
the first
No,
week?
it was
What was-
awful. It was
we were on
terrible.
pins and needles, and just, oh my God,
And
we
finally,
gotta-
when we got the call back, it turned out that it was the girl, when they did the teeth exam, Susie had straight, perfect teeth. This girl had, crooked teeth. They were, a lot of cavities. Susie didn't have that. And had they done that, almost right away,
was just, that's awful.
it was terrible because, we just...
There was no reason they had to put us through that.
No reason. And so we finally called the police and said, the state police who had our case at this point, to say, look, don't ever let them call us again, or don't call us unless you have something,
And of course, you haven't ever been able to change your number.
No, we haven't,
Because
yeah.
you wanted to make sure you would never think of moving. You never think of changing your number. You've left
I did.
everything
Yeah,
exactly.
except for this winter, I wanted to be in a warmer place.
Yeah.
Didn't we all?
I feel that.
Right.
Yeah,
But-
it's kind of kept us here, and not that. I mean, there's always that. There's the logical and the emotional things that you have to deal with, and logically, I'm thinking, well, if we live somewhere else, if Susie was out there and she wanted to, to find us, then she certainly would be able to find us, The other part of it is the emotional side is, what if she, called our number, or she came up and knocked on our door and we weren't there, that kind of thing, So you're always kind of
No, I
struggling between the
understand
two.
completely.
That's
When you
exactly what I
talk-
said to Dick this morning when he called.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Said the same thing.
Well,
Did you?
I know
Yeah.
that, as I said, when I saw the People magazine article, I still remember the picture of Susie's room.
Yeah.
Have you ever changed that?
It's changed.
How hard?
It's
that's
changed
gotta
a
be
little
so
bit,
hard.
but
Yeah, because
her artifacts are still hanging on the wall. She
still has her
liked
artifacts on the
she
wall.
liked bunnies, and there's a whole
Oh.
big huge shelf full of a collection of little bunny type things.
Oh, that's beautiful.
We had to struggle with, we still struggle with that, but I think along the way we decided that, we had to do kind of what was helpful and healthy
Yes.
for us,
Mhm.
and I didn't feel anyway, that it would be healthy to, create a shrine and leave everything, just the way it was, and some families do that.
Yeah, we
I don't personally think that that's a healthy thing to do, so we decided to.
So you make gradual, very gradual.
To change,
Well,
change
to-
things around.
Yes, okay.
And,
We
we
still have the
a lot of our
boxes.
things.
the boxes that the state police brought back, and we had them in the garage until this past year because we need to put another car in there, and so Doug moved them out to the shed.
But these would have been her personal belongings.
Those are
from-
everything
Personal
that came
belongings,
back from SUNY or from the college. They waited until May, so we didn't see that stuff. And that was the stuff I helped her pack when she went to college.
Wow.
So when it came back, it was really
That
hard
was
to
devastating.
see these boxes full of things.
That's all we had.
I think
What was
we had the
the-
Center for Hope in our home.
So it was
then
in
we
your
were
home first, okay.
And I think by the end of 2000, we got the, able to come into this place,
And that's because of the Jerry
because
DeFlippo's.
Jerry, has allowed
Mary,
us to be here, which is great.
That is wonderful. He's a great guy.
He's a
Yeah.
wonderful guy.
But when had you established it in your home?
Probably in late '99. We had two friends, a guy who was a former FBI guy, who had actually just retired, and he wasn't still working for the
I think
FBI.
he wasn't. Well, when we
And
first met him,
his
he was still working.
Wife
yeah.
was a social worker, and they got talking to us about, establishing something, and they were involved with the Council of Community, that's what they called it at the time, Council of Community Services, which is a New York State program.
Should I mention their names? They were the two who
Oh,
got
sure,
the
yeah.
wheels turning. What were their names? The guy, the former FBI.
Jim Cavalli.
Jim and Jean Keverly. He was a representative to that group from the FBI at that point. So,
Okay.
and they helped us to work towards getting our not-for-profit status, because that's a big thing. I mean, that's such a rigmarole to go through. All the hoops you got to jump through, and the forms, and the lawyers, and all this nonsense. We never would have been able to do it without them and the Council for Community Services.
All right, and what about the name that you chose, the Center for Hope Healing Our Painful Emotions? Who came up with that?
Actually,
wonderful
I
name?
think the Caverleys helped us come up with that,
Yeah.
and then they were trying to come up with what hope could mean,
Mhm.
and she kept coming up with healing our painful, and she could never come up with anything for E, and I came up with the emotions. So we
Okay.
finally got that together, but it
Healing
was
our
Jean Caverly that did that.
Wonderful.
And
Somebody comes up and says, we haven't forgotten about Suzanne.
Right.
We think about her often, or you're on our prayer list. That's
So the
comforting.
prayer, I was going to ask you what was seeing you through, whether it was family, friends, faith. Has that been, has
I think
faith played a big role
family
in
and
knowing that
friends
people are
and-
praying?
I think that it's more the community support, the support through the state police. Have been tremendous.
So the state police have been tremendous. They've continued to support you and stay in touch.
They're, the investigation is open, and we feed them information that comes through us. Leads. And
Is this the same person
whatever.
on the case who was on it in '98?
there's only one that's still involved.
Can
a
I have the
little bit.
name, because I do think I want to.
He actually was in the Discover thing. John Camp.
John Camp.
Yeah, I thought. Okay.
And he was there. He was kind of there as a fill-in in '98 anyway. But he was
But he's
part
with
of
the colony office or whatever of the state police.
Troop G.
Troop G.
Yeah.
G. All right.
Yeah.
Troop G and
They're now
Latham.
in
They're now
Latham.
in Latham.
So he was able and still is able to follow it right from the get-go, right from day one.
When her room was, opened, I don't know if it was the RA that opened her room or whatever, but
Her dorm room.
her
Yeah.
dorm room at college, her hairdryer was on the bed, her computer was on,
Were
money
you
was on
allowed
top
into
of
her room the day you got the call? Were you allowed to actually set foot in your daughter's room?
You didn't
Did
get
you
in
go?
there.
It was a few days later.
You weren't allowed in, or you didn't ask to go in? Yeah.
Boy,
You thought she was.
see, because I don't think the first day I went down there, I went right to the safety office.
Okay.
Because by that time the RA had gone in and found out she wasn't in the room. So it wasn't maybe till the following day that I actually got in her room.
But you were the ones who alerted the RA that she was missing? How did that, because you got the
Well,
call from the boyfriend.
here's
and
what happened.
Okay.
The boyfriend couldn't do business down there because he wasn't a relative. I mean, when he went to the safety office, they wouldn't give him the time of day because he wasn't related.
Mm-hmm.
And when I called the RA, they had to go through a bunch of rigmarole so he could even open the door because of privacy issues. So it probably wasn't until an hour or two later that he was actually able to go in and determine that
So
she
all
wasn't there,
these
because I thought maybe,
minutes,
maybe
the
she,
clock's ticking
maybe
with
she
all
fell
this.
down.
Yes,
hit her
yes.
head.
Mhm.
Who knows, had a seizure,
Right.
anything could have happened. So we needed to rule that out, and it took a while to, to really have that happen. So there were, the whole process was delayed, and I think, that time is the enemy in these situations, because if there was any sort of evidence or, witnesses, they could have been long gone. People come and go from the campus there. They're traveling, so there could have been things that were lost that could have been, very crucial.
Okay.
One of the things we're interested in doing, and we've been working on for past, seems like years and years, is to get a program going, a Rad Kids program.
Mm-hmm.
You meet our guy over here, Bob. That's
There's
Bob. That's what the kids.
Oh, that's Bob.
Call him Adolf, but
The kids call him Adolf. Yeah.
He's the
he's a
attacker.
mean-looking guy.
Yeah, isn't he?
He
Well, I'll
is.
tell you, when Doug first dressed him up there, and I walked in the room,
He does look kind of mean.
I took me
He's got a
back. I thought, who the
face.
heck
He's got a
is
mean
this? But that's Bob, anyway. Bob is the guy that the kids learn how to beat on in order to get away from a predator. This program is good for kids from preschool to age 12. And it's like a 4-week program, a couple hours every week. And they really learn how to empower themselves.
How to keep themselves safe in a lot
And
of
how to
different
keep
areas.
them safe.
It's all on.
And that's one of the things I
prevention.
admire the most about you, is that you, despite, your loss and what you've been coping with, that you still dig deep and are always searching for ways to prevent another, mom and dad from
Yeah,
going
keep
through
bad things
what
from
you've
happening.
gone through, and that,
Yeah.
And this
and are going through.
Rad Kids has, I don't know how many documented saves they have now, but
Wow.
there's
Oh, yeah.
I'll definitely go to the website
probably
and find out.
over 100. And they can kind of document, and kids will say, yeah, I did this because of what I learned in Rad Kids. By the way, one of the things we're working on now, this is our big project, is to put information on drink coasters.
Okay, where are these going to be going out?
Well, in the Capital District,
Yes.
it's going to be a pilot. We've been working with Di Crescenti, the drink distributor from Mechanicville, and Jim Tedesco. Our target now date is to get this out by September. So it would be, like a small group of missing persons that will display and get
Okay.
around to bars and restaurants in the area.